All right, off we go. Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's having the most wonderful day. I am live today for the second time because today we've got a guest session. So if you're tuning in for the first time and you're like, wait, what's going on? Let me tell you a little bit. Hi, I'm Ramon. My friend Jess and I are running a free web development bootcamp based on Free Code Camp's materials. And we've got a couple of guest sessions, and today it is my utter joy to bring on yet another guest speaker to teach us all about the Devtools in our browser, which is going to be magnificent. So I'm not going to go on for too long, just going to throw out some links if you're curious about the Bad Website Club free web development bootcamp. Go check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Bad Website Club. You're going to find all of the recordings from the bootcamp here. Same goes for the forum, bwc-bootcamp-forum. You can go there on the Free Code Camp forum and ask any questions. We also have a Discord channel, bit.ly/bwc-discord-invite. And last but not least, our code of conduct, bit.ly/bwc-coc. Please make sure you adhere to this when you join this bootcamp. Hey, great. So that's enough of me going on and on. Let me bring on our lovely, we got some folks joining in. Graham the Dev says, hey. Aspa says, hello from Zurich. Good to see you both. Okay, that's enough of me taking up all of the stage. Let me bring on our esteemed guest. Here we go. Miguel is about to join us. Welcome, Miguel. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I am extremely excited. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, where you're tuning in from, what you do?
Yeah, I'm a web developer at Skillshare. I just started last month. And
Amazing.
I'm from Venezuela, and I now have been living in Colombia for the past 4 years of my life. And yeah, I like do open source and teaching.
Amazing. Same here. Thank you so much, Miguel, for joining us today. You know what? I'm just going to go hang out in the background, but here's what we're going to do, friends. Miguel is going to be presenting very kindly. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the chat. And what I will do is I will collect all of these. And in the end, if Miguel has the time, very kindly will ask you a couple questions, highlight those, and let you answer them. Sound good? Wonderful. Well, in that case, I'm just going to go off into the backstage. I'm going to hang out. I will bring up your slides, Miguel. And as they say, the stage is yours. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Yes, today we're going to have a class about Devtools. And I'm going to give you a little introduction to the tools and how you can start using your day-to-day in your web development life. And the talk is called Devtools Are Your Best Friends for Web Development. If you don't know me, well, I'm a software developer at Skillshare from Venezuela, living in Colombia. I've been doing websites for more than 20 years, international speaker, open source advocate, and I used to be a professor in a university and was part of the Mozilla TechSpeakers. But before I started, I want to give you a warning about this talk, is that this talk is oriented to any browser. The idea is that you use your favorite browser. In my case, is Firefox, but you can use Chrome, Edge, Safari, whatever browser that suits perfect for you. You can still use it in. So, and all the content that you see here is applied. You can use it on your favorite browser. So it's not only Firefox oriented. The content, I'm going to tell you what is a best friend, why your browser is your best friend. I'm going to talk about the inspector tool, style editor, accessibility tab, and I'm going to give you some recommendations. Like I said, this is an introductory content because we can talk hours and hours and hours about Devtools because there are so many and you can do many things with them. But there is not enough time, so I'm going to go to the basic ones, and then you can start learning by yourself. Or I'm going to give you some tips so you can, continue and increasing your knowledge about web tools. Okay, so let's start. What is a best friend? Let's say, imagine who is your best friend, or if you have more than one, think of them. And usually a best friend is a person who is always available. You can talk them on weekends, on early mornings. Well, you shouldn't, but technically you can. And also everywhere you go, it's going to be there for you. Also, they are next to you on your worst moments. If no, no, something bad happens to you, or any something really bad or good in your life, usually they are in there, and that's how you recognize them, who are better friends than other. Also, they are trustworthy. You can share your secrets to your friends, or any delicate information that they can use for bad things, but they will never do it, because you know that it's safe to have that information with them. Also, all your best friends make your life happier. Usually when you are sad or you have a problem, you go to your best friends, and usually they make your life easier and happier. Now, how I discovered that my browser was my best friend. It was a real life story. It was a Friday night. I'm a Latino, so usually in South America, and I was partying and dancing salsa in Venezuela. And then I received a call from not from my boss, I would say the boss of my boss. So I knew that something really bad happened. And the problem is that someone released a new CSS code, and the code by mistake, it hit the login button. So it was really, really, a really bad, the worst scenario, because nobody could log into the application. And by coincidence, that boss was showing the application to an investor, so he couldn't do anything to him. So I knew that I had to be the savior. If they called me, and actually my boss was in a flight, and so he couldn't, go to the office and save the situation. So I have to take like a Mission Impossible. I knew that was assigned to me, because I was really far from home, and there's no way that also far. It was also far from the office, so I couldn't, go to a computer and start fixing the thing. But at that moment in Venezuela, we have hyperinflation, so every business had a regular computer with a regular computer they use at home, so you can do wire transfers to the business from your accounts, bank accounts. You can pay because there was no money. So I went into one of those computers, and I started using like a really slow, like if I didn't know what I was doing, but actually I was opening the browser and doing some changes with the Devtools, and then I could upload it to the cloud. I was using GitLab, and GitLab lets you change the code in the web interface, through the web interface. So I could change the code, and then I became like the hero. I could fix the problem and then go back to what I was doing, which it was partying. So I could save the day thanks to a web browser, because I wanted to install it in that computer so I could fix the issue. Because web browsers are your best friends. Usually they are installed on any machine. You have a desktop computer, a Mac, laptop, even your phones, or even an old computer from from a remote place. They have a web browser, so you can technically use a web browser anywhere and everywhere. They are trustworthy. Usually, you do your online shoppings. You have your password. You have your sensitive information. You save it to the browser, and you trust them because you know that they are safe they are trustworthy. Also, all of them right now, they have tools to make websites. And if you can use it and learn them how to use them professionally, it will make your life more happier. So that's how I discovered that the browsers were my best friends. Sorry. So how can my browser help me with web development? First, let's see some scenarios. Usually when we're starting to do web development, what we do is to write the code, execute some script or tools. For example, if you're working with JavaScript, you have to compile the JS code, etc. Then you change the browser, you refresh, then you see the changes, and if the change didn't help or it wasn't what you were expecting, then you have to go back again, write the code, execute the tools, refresh the browser, change to the browser, refresh, see the changes, and so on. So it's like it might get a little bit boring, especially when you are fixing a UI bug and you don't know what's going on. And so it's boring, not productive, and very repetitive. Also, the classic meme when you are starting web development, that there are many devices. Each one has a different screen size and has a different web browser. And usually the editors do not help you to visualize all the resolutions. But the browser can help you. Also, when after you make your website and you deploy it and people start using, then you have some user feedback. Say, oh, it loads very slow. It feels like a heavy. It doesn't work. So usually you get crazy like in the picture because all the effort that you made and still see some of those issues. But don't worry, because I guess that many of you have experienced these problems. If not, then you're lucky. But these are regular things that happen when you are doing web development. But the browser can help you in those scenarios. So you can use the browser and reduce, the possibility of these things happening. So what I recommend you is to use the development browsers. There are development browsers that are just like the regular ones, but usually they are like let's call it like a beta browser, because they are ahead from the regular browser development schedule. So what it means that, for example, if you use Firefox Developer Edition, the blue one in here, that's 12 weeks ahead from the regular browser. So it means that every change that's going to be applied to the browser, or any change that is going to add it, or any feature, you can see it 12 weeks before everybody else see it. So you live like kind of in the future. That helps. So when you, for example, when there are big changes, like when browser decided to support only HTTPS and show like a really bad warning when you were trying to log in into a website without any certificate, it was showing some really bad errors. So people who were using this development browser could notice the changes 12 weeks ahead. So you have enough time so you can patch your software, do some things, or even if you don't know what to do, you have still time to study and learn. So that's why I recommend to use the development browsers. Also, many of them enable some features that are not enabled on the regular or stable versions, because they are still not finished, or maybe they still think that it shouldn't be released yet. So by using this browser, you can get some features, and you can be, like I said before, in the future, learning and doing things that regular people cannot. So I recommend to install them. You just have to quickly search them. Usually they are called Firefox Developer Edition, Chrome Canary, Edge Dev, Safari Developer Preview, Opera, I think it's called Opera Beta. I don't remember the Opera, and Brave Dev. Okay, so I'm going to show you the inspector tool. Usually when you open the developer tool, you can press F12 on your keyboard, or you can right click and on the window you cannot see on the screen, and click on inspect. And you can see something like this. The inspector tool is usually the first tool that you can see on developer tools. And what it does is that it shows the current HTML. As you can see, these slides are HTML pages. So I can see the HTML of these slides. Also, you can see on the right side, well, first, when you can see the elements, and as I am, passing over the different parts of the HTML, you can see how it highlights the section in the page. So you can learn, oh, okay, for example, this node to the class slides is actually the square that wraps the inspector tool word. And I can go and see here. This one that are in kind of grayed out means that they are hidden. So these are the other slides that I just passed. And as you can see here, this one is highlighted because it's the previous slide, I guess, because that's way on the left side. And here is the title, H3. And you can navigate through the HTML and see how it looks. Also, something that you have to keep in mind is this is the HTML that is currently loaded. Because if you do right click and view page source, you can see the original HTML. This is the HTML that the browser downloaded and got through the web server. And because when you click on a menu, or in this case, when I change the slides, the HTML can change. So with the view page source, you see what came from the server and the initial HTML. And in the developer tools, you can see this one, what it is. And you can edit the HTML code. For example, I can double click on the tag, and I can change from H2 to H1, for example. And it changed a little bit. Since it's collapsed, maybe you don't see any real change. But if I change it to H5, you'll see that now it's smaller, or I can even change it to a paragraph, and it will change on real time. For example, if you notice, when I change to paragraph, it added some yellow bars. Those yellow bars is the margin. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And you can even change the HTML. For example, instead of inspector tool, I can change it to this is text and change it. Something that you have to notice is that you are changing the HTML in the browser, in the ones that it's loaded. It's not being changed nor in the server where you are working, nor in the local files if you are working locally. This can be safe, of course. You can copy and paste it on your editor, or you can click and save the HTML and save it into a file. But you have to keep in mind, because, for example, if I refresh, I lose all the changes. So you can only change it on real time. For example, this is a test, and you can change some other things. On the right side, you can see all the CSS classes that applies to that particular element. In this case, this means that it's gray out because it means that it's not been applied. For example, it has a color through inline CSS. So I can change it for example, something like orange and test the HTML. Or you can, for example, click here on the colors circle and change any color that you want. And you can see it will change on real time, so you don't have to refresh your page. You can just experiment and see whatever color you want. And then when you go back, you already have the hexadecimal code, and you can apply it to your editor only once. I mean, you can see it in real time, do any changes, and then you right click, copy rule or copy color, whatever you want to do, and paste it on there. And you can change everything. For example, you can change the font size. I don't know, I don't like it. I want to change it to Arial. So you can see all these changes. What else? Oh, I can do anything here. For example, what happened if I change this rule and I add a dead shadow, for example? Shadow from one pixel, another pixel, and it's black color. I'm going to increase the width and height, so you can see that it applies some kind of shadow in there. Well, you can start and add things. Also, if you don't know the rules, it can autocomplete, for example, text, and it showed me all the different options that I have through CSS to add them. For example, I can show, let's see, for example, font. I want to change the font size or font style. You can scroll. If you don't know the rule, it can autocomplete. And for example, I'm going to change the weight of the font, and it says, okay, bold, bolder, initial, lighter, and you can scroll and see the change on real time. So you can also learn the CSS rules through developer tools, because you can see all the options and scroll and see what's the name for each one. For example, I can change to lighter, and you can apply it and do your work here. And once you are, you know what you want to do, you can go to the last tab and it says changes. And it will throw you like all the different changes that you have applied into this single element. For example, you in this case telling me that I've changed these CSS rules. It was white color, I changed it to this orange color. For example, initially it had this font, and I changed it to Arial. I added this text shadow and weight. And I can just copy all these changes and you can paste it on your editor. Also, I'm going to maybe see, let's try with another something here. Also, in the inspector, you can see the bots layout that all the elements have. If you are having issues with CSS, you can easily understand by learning the bots model. What the bots model says is that for each element, you have a weight and you have a height and width, and you also have a border in order to element. Now, the space between the element and the border is what we call the padding, and the space between the border and any other element is the margin. And for example, let's inspect this image, and we can see how it is. It tells me that this is the width. It doesn't have any border, but I can click on here and I can start applying some kind of border. For example, 1 pixel to each side. Maybe we don't see it because the screen is small, but now I'm going to put like a 9. And now you see that it's getting added like a 9 pixels width border. Now you see a border. And I can start changing here the things. A padding, and for example, I'm going to add a top padding. Or for example, now I just noticed that we can do like yeah, I forgot the name of the pictures when you I forgot the name. For example, the picture when you take it and it prints it automatically. So we can add something like this. We can add a padding and simulate that kind of effect. And if I want to move, for example, the image have more space than the title, I can add like a margin here, and I can play with the bots, and I can see how I can see the changes on real time. Now, once I highlight the image, I can see, for example, oh, it has like a yellow border at the top. That means that it's the margin. So it's applying some margin to the top, and that's what is pushing the image down a little bit. And now you can see also that it has like a purple rectangle at the bottom. That means that someone on some CSS applied a padding in there. So that's how you can learn also how the elements are in a page. Now, if I inspect here this list, for example, this list has a left margin because it has like a yellow rectangle on the left. But if I hover over the div that wraps all the element, has a purple square or a border. And that purple means that it's a padding. So you can see how the layout of a page using only the inspection tools. And if I go back to the image, since I did all these changes, I can go back to rules, and there should be a new rule with all the changes that I've made. Here it is. Since I made some custom things like only a border on the top, only a padding on the top, very specific changes, it throw me all these big rules. And I can just copy and save it to there. What's the idea? The idea is that you can do with in one single time, you do all the changes, you see on real time how it would look, and you just copy and paste it in your editor only one time. That's basically what the inspector tool lets you do. Also, it has a computer tab where you can see what the browser understands based on all these rules. Sometimes you have a lot of rules like this one. Usually when you work with frameworks, they apply a lot of rules. And instead of scrolling and see what's the change, you can go into the computer and you only see one CSS attribute that it's applied to the element. So it's easier to see. And you can even enable these checkbox to see the browser styles. That means that are the styles that the browser usually apply by default. And sometimes, usually when you are learning, it can mess with you because the browser applies, for example, if you have a H1, H2, H3, the browsers put a bold font into those elements. So if you don't know it, maybe you don't see, hey, where is this bold change coming from? Now you can see that it applies to the browser. So basically, that's the inspector tool. You can do a lot of things. For example, I can hover over an image URL and then see what's the image. I can edit as an HTML, so I can edit, even add any custom things in here. I can add a paragraph at the top. I can edit anything. I can even take a screenshot. You cannot see the dialog, but you can right click, taking a screenshot, and we'll take a screenshot only of the portion of what you selected, and it will be downloaded through the browser. So this is the inspector tool. Now we can see the CSS style editor. Yeah, I'm going to refresh here. Remember that if you refresh, you will lose all the changes. So you make sure that you save the changes to your editor before refreshing. Also, the CSS style editor is a similar thing. Here you can see the style editor, and you can see all the CSS files that are loaded into this page, and what's the order that they were loaded. For example, the first one is a reset, and you can see here, okay, is a reset HTML that what it does is to reset all the browser styles. Then you can see the frameworks. This is Reveal CSS, which Reveal is the name of the framework that I used to make this slide. This is the theme that I'm using, and this is my custom theme. You can see my name because this is the CSS that I made. In here, you can edit the CSS that it's loaded into the browser. You can see them anything, and you can add something like, for example, okay, I want let's see first. Well, 1 second. Let's see here. What kind of element is this? Okay, it's a H1. So I can go back to the editor and say H1, for example, and say, for example, font weight lighter. Or no, font weight light. I think it's not going to apply, so I'm going to import them. If it doesn't work, it's because maybe you have to go to the inspector. Let's do something more specific, more general, maybe a body. Change. The body doesn't work. It's better to in this case it's better when you see on inspect and you can see a CSS rule. And maybe you can see, for example, here, this is I want to see, for example, what's the color that is being applied to this element. I can go into the inspect the element, and if you see on the right side, this is the CSS file that is applying the rule to the element. So you can click here and edit in this place. And I can change in the editor the color. Let's see, a blue one, and it should work. Maybe because I didn't click on save. Well, this is something that happens in real time. But the idea is that you can change here all these elements, and once you have finished, you can click here on save, and it will download a CSS with all the content of all the changes that you have made. This is useful because you can see the CSS that it's applying to the browser. You can usually also this is helpful when you are linking a CSS to the HTML and you don't see, hey, why is not loading? What's going on? And if you go here, you don't see the CSS, it means that it has not been loaded. So you have to add it. So this is kind of like the same thing as in the inspector, but here in the style editor, you can edit the full CSS and do full changes. And also, even if you are using like a pre-compress or a minify CSS in this place, you can see all the things changes. Also, for example, I just click on reveal and I can see the CSS rules. For example, for mobile for the different screen resolutions. And if I click in there, the browser will automatically change to that resolution, so I can see how the website looks on that particular resolution. So that is also helpful that the editor doesn't let you. And this is better than using how say making the windows smaller, going to the border and making narrower, because here it's also simulating a device. It's not just that the browser is slow, but for example, if you can see here, it's simulating an iPhone 12 with this resolution. You can simulate, for example, how will this load on a regular 3G? Let's say that you are testing for a third-world country that doesn't have a good internet connection. You can click on here and you can see how the page will load on this regular connection. Of course, it's going to load really slow in this case, but you can simulate that kind of things in the page and see the page in different resolutions. So yeah, that's basically what's the resolution. Oops, let me see. I think the browser failed. Now it's simulating the slow connection. 1 second. No trolling, disable cache. Disable this. Oops. Well, if now we can go to plan B. It's another website that is loaded. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to show you, this test website that I made, it's also the accessibility tool. The accessibility tool is pretty useful, especially when you're starting to learn, because remember that not everybody can see the word as you can see it. Some people may have visual problems, or for example, people who has blind color issues. They cannot see, for example, well, it depends on what kind of type. For example, they cannot see maybe a red and a green link. For example, a red link in front of a green background. In this case, there is an accessibility tool. Let me see 1 second. Accessibility tool. I think I have a video. Apologize for this. Okay, I was going to talk to you about the media queries, and the media queries, like I said, on the CSS files, you can click on the different resolutions that the CSS files offers, and you can click it, and the browser will adapt automatically to that particular resolution and will simulate a device. Also, when you click through this mode, it's not going to click with a regular mouse. It's going to simulate when you press with your button when you press with your finger on the screen. So it's a different event. So it's easy when you are testing a mobile website, it's better to use this tool. I'm going to show you first the CSS Shapes. For example, you can see the different how it's going to alter in the CSS. For example, it's going to enable the click path rule. The click path rule, what it does is that you can define a polygon and the image, which is a square by default. The browser will transform it into a polygon, and you can start changing the values just like you see in there, and start adapting, the text. And once you are comfortable with the result, you can just copy and paste it into your editor. But you can see the changes on real time, and this also works. You can see in there how you can drag and drop the different vertex for the polygon, and the text will adapt in real time. The good thing about this is that you can, for example, if you have slow connections, you can only work once and do all the things here, and save bandwidth, time, etc., and do it once and go back to the editor. Also, want to talk is, for example, there is a CSS Grid technology. Now, it has a lot of time. It has been released since a long time, but it's not very popular. What you can do here is to basically, when you can define a CSS Grid, and the browser already has some rules that let you, for example, see the different cells, how the grid was designed, and you can add some padding. Even you can apply some CSS rules and start working with them. And the good thing is that you can use, like a more visual thing than just full code. So you can get oriented better inside the grid and start doing some changes. And you can just click on the layout and see all the different changes. Also, I think I'm going to show this first. And also, it has support for flatbots. So if you use CSS flatbots, you can see, for example, in the banner at the top, how you can how the browser calculates the area between the elements. So you can see that, for example, it took like a half column. Now it's taking some padding and moving the things to the right. So it's a really great tool, so you can visually see how the browser interprets your CSS rules. Sorry. The accessibility tool that I wanted to show you, for example, here you have a WordPress. And sorry that it's in Spanish, and you can click on the accessibility, and it's going to complain or tell you some things that should change. For example, if you go into, okay, first it's going to show you what, I don't know how the name of the device that some people uses to see the content. For example, I know that the blind people has some browsers that read loud the content of the HTML. So this accessibility tool is going to show you how the device will going to read it. For example, the device is going to say section, heading, WordPress swag, section, paragraph, mid WordPress. And you can, debug and see how it does. And for example, in this case, I changed to tell me, hey, what are the contrast problems? And it's complaining about the search box at the top, and also it's complaining about this gray text, because it's saying that the gray is not strong enough to that specific background. So I should increase the color in order so people with visual impairment can see the text in a better way. I recommend you to use the accessibility because it increases the quality of the website a lot, and it's really easy. And also, it helps to more people to see your website in a good way, because it can simulate visual impairment, also blind color issues, and the different categories of blind colors. You can make a website that it's accessible for everybody. And also, well, this is another example of the flexbox where you can change on real time the values and see how the browser interprets the layout of the different elements inside the row. Also, another technology that I want to talk is about variable fonts. Variable fonts is like a new technology when you can define one single font, so it gets loaded once, and then you can start changing, for example, the weight and the width on using, UI controls. You don't have to code anything. You can just change anything in real time, and with a single font, you can create some different variations. For example, how it will be the inclination when it's on italic, the width, the weight, and you can just add those different variables and create the rules. So you can, for example, see how it changes a lot by using the same single font. So the good idea, the idea of using this is that you just use one single font on your page. It will load faster, and then you just automatically define the different variations and through CSS, so they get applied and will be much faster than downloaded 2 or 3 different font families. And also there is at the end, once you finish your page, you can click on hints, and it's going on Google Chrome. I think it's called page speed, and you can scan your website and check for different problems. For example, if your JavaScript is not minified or is very big, this is a testing shop, for example, and it's complaining that it doesn't have any ARIA roles. So it means that if a person with, for example, a blind person, if it's going to navigate to this website, it won't have a good experience because there are things that are not being announced to that device. Also, it's going to complain about JavaScript performance issue because one JavaScript file it's not being minified. And also you can complain about some HTML rules that if you add it's going to make the experience better for mobile devices. So I recommend you to use this hint tool. Like I said, there are many different tools. You can check them all by yourself. But sometimes the dev tools that come with the browser are not enough. So for example, let's say that any feature you want is missing, you have different options. One is to search and install an add-on, usually on the Chrome Web Store or Google or Mozilla Addons, on the different add-ons shops or extensions pages. There are some different tools that are not added by default. For example, if you work with React or Vue or Angular, there are particular official add-ons that you can add to the DevTools and work with those technology. Like for example, on Vue and React, they have all the official packages. So you can download it and add it, and it will it will add the feature to the DevTools. Also, you can download the source code and start developing your feature. These DevTools are done like a regular website. This is a JavaScript and HTML code, so you can edit and see how they are made and add the feature by yourself if you have enough knowledge. And also, you can create an add-on for the browser also. If you don't want to add it to the browser, you can create an add-on, which is a similar thing, but you can, create a different things. There are add-ons for many things. For example, I use one that is, I think I can show them here. Add-ons. For example, I use one that is called CSS Reloaded. So instead of refreshing the website, I can click on F9, and it will download only the CSS and apply it to the page without refreshing the browser. So also ones for simple to take a screenshot, to fill forms, to see JavaScript errors in a pop-up is going to show something here. Pixel Perfect if you want to put a design above. I use the React tools, Vue.js DevTools because I work with those. There is also Chrome Logger. Usually when you have work with PHP or some backend languages, you can print things to the DevTools to debug and see things. Yeah, so using these things, you can expand the DevTools features. Also, if you want to learn new things, you can go into DevTools Tips. It's a really good website. It's on English, but you can see all the different tips on different. I think it also different browsers. Yeah, you can filter by browser, different categories. For example, if you work on front end, back end, or whatever you work, and also you can just subscribe and see everything. All that you need is on this page. But also you can go into the MD Web Docs, Firefox DevTools. Official Firefox DevTools has different, and also the Chrome has different tips. And the MDN has like a general view developer tools documentation. And that's what I wanted to share. If you have any questions, anything, you can find me. Here's my email in case you need it, and my Twitter handle and Mastodon handle. And thank you for the invitation. And I hope that it was enough content so you can start and get motivated. I recommend you to learn develop a tool, because I can guarantee you that if you learn them and use them well, you're going to save a lot of time. That means that if you're a freelancer, it's going to make you earn more money, or if you be more productive, or if you work in a company, you can do more things in less time, etc. So yeah, I recommend you to work with this.
Miguel, thank you so much. Friends in the chat, can we please give Miguel all of our thank yous, all of our emojis, all of the love, please. This was absolutely wonderful. Cannot thank you all enough. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you all for joining in. So let's dive into some questions. Folks, please use this opportunity to ask Miguel any questions y'all might have. If not, as said, you can get in touch with him through Miguel Useche at skattalks.com and on Twitter and on Mastodon. But please do bring some in. I do have one question here from Aspa, who's asking, so changing the inspector code is kind of like previewing in real time tweaks that we might want to make to our code, see how they look like, and maybe keep them or not. Is that right?
Exactly. That's the idea. So you can see exactly how it looks and how the browser will render, and apply and keep those changes.
Amazing. And did I see correctly that you could export those changes as well?
Yeah, you can copy and paste, and we'll copy the HTML, and the CSS you can save it right away.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't see many questions right now, but I do have one for you, Miguel, because like the one thing that always surprises me about the Devtools is that every day I feel like I'm learning something, or like just about every time I've encountered them, I feel like I'm learning something new. I'd love to know, what are some recent things that have been added, or if you know of any upcoming changes to any Devtools on any browser that you're particularly excited about?
Yes, well, something that I'm excited, I work with WebAssembly. It's a new technology that lets you run other languages inside JavaScript. And the browsers are adding tools so you can see the code for that particular code. That it's very advanced, so you can see it. Also, something that I have seen, I think, from Microsoft, is that they are adding support to like for example, if you use Visual Code, you can debug inside your editor the things that you are seeing in your browser. So now you can connect basically any editor or any tool to the browser and work from your regular editor, but the changes the information comes from the browser basically. So you can edit the debug your JavaScript code, but it's not the editor. It's actually the browser that is debugging for you the information. So basically, the browser will be more integrated to any tool now. So
amazing.
And I think Edge is working on that.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I think everybody is just super floored by your great presentation, Miguel. I'm sure they're all super excited to get in touch. Is there anything that you might have wanted to mention that you perhaps missed out on, or something you're working on that you're
So something that usually people ask me is, what's the better browser to work with?
Yeah.
And usually, first, it depends on, my opinion is, depends on where you are used to. I use Firefox because that's a browser that I've been using for the past, 20 years. So I'm learning that's what seems easier to me. But people who would start with Chrome say that Chrome. But I think that Firefox and Edge are more oriented to front-end stuff. I would say, like, they have really great support for CSS things and the UI and changes. And also, but I think that Chrome is the best browser for JavaScript things. They support a lot of things that usually other browsers doesn't support, and have a great tool for JavaScript development. So that's my opinion. Front end use Firefox or Edge, or fully JavaScript use Chrome. And you can swap between them. I usually swap them. So
That's a really good point, and I hadn't considered that you might need different browsers for different kinds of projects. That's really really cool. Yeah, I was like, I had no idea that makes that big a change. So there you go. Great. Well, I won't keep y'all for much longer. We've got another partner session from Naya coming up in about 15 minutes. So I'll let y'all go there. Just a couple things before we go. Once again, Miguel, thank you so much. This was absolutely wonderful. I'm going to post one more time the schedule into the chat so you can follow up on next things. If you came in halfway through this presentation, don't worry. It's going to stay saved on YouTube. The link is here in the banner, youtube.com/@badwebsiteclub. So don't miss that. Well, friends, Miguel, thank you once again.
Thank you.
I'm going to let you go and enjoy the rest of your morning. And to the rest of y'all, enjoy the rest of your day. And till next time.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
You.
And sorry.
I also say, no, I just want to say that if you have any question, you can write me on this, and I will reply. I mean, don't worry if that it's outside the conference. You can still write and reach me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Miguel.
Thank you.
And bye, everyone.
Bye.